Hi, this is Angelika with the Oregon Bee Store in our greenhouse at the first week of February, and today I wanted to talk about carrots. If you don't have the proper conditions for your carrots, there's no sense in growing them, I'm sorry. Because they do have specific cultural requirements that they do need, and they're a little more picky than most of your other garden produce. So today I'm going to show you how I grow my carrots by direct sowing. I'm also going to show you a really cool pre-sprouting method that saves you a ton of time and aggravation, especially in the summer when it gets hot. And I'm going to talk about what you need in order to get your carrot patch going successfully. Okay, so here we are in the greenhouse. You can grow carrots anytime when the ground doesn't stay frozen all the time, which is basically all the time in southern Oregon. You don't want to sow them in hot weather. They don't like that, but I'll show you a couple of ways to overcome that a little bit. And you never want them to dry out. So, everything else that's in here, including the peas we had planted a month ago, are out here. You see they're all out in the open. The carrots are covered. This white material is called Remay. It's a frost cloth. You can find it online. I don't think you can buy it locally, but you might be able to out of... Yep, there they are. And also you can see how dry it is on the edge and how having that cloth here is keeping it moist. So that's rule number one about carrots, is never let them dry out when you sow the seed. I guess that's number two. Number one is you must have the proper soil. So I'm telling you now, if you don't have the right kind of soil to grow carrots in, I mean, you can try it, but I really wouldn't waste my time. This soil is not native. In our area, it's nothing but really bad clay. It's got a lot of rocks in it, which is another thing that you don't want with carrots. A lot of this is imported soil. It's pumice, which is native to our area. It's volcanic pumice. You see how light and fluffy it is? There's no trouble at all to dig down into it. That's what you want, because carrots will go to no effort to dig down and get those nice deep roots that you want. If they encounter any kind of resistance, rocks, whatever, they won't grow. So therefore you have to make it easy for them. So number one is your soil. Number two is never let them dry out. The way you sow the seed, I can kind of show you. I'm not going to sow any seed right now, but I will give you the rundown. It's not hard. So you want to make a furrow, just like I have here. You sprinkle the seed in, You don't want to put too much seed in there, because then you're going to have to go through and thin it, just like I am going to have to in this area right here. You see there's too many, but I'll wait to do that for a while. Anyway, when you sow your seed in there, then what I like to do is take a little bit of that good soil and just sprinkle it on like that. And then you're good. Water it, put your cover on it if you have it, and you're going to have to wait about 3 or 4 weeks for it to sprout. Alright, so that's the method that I use to sow my seeds out in the raised beds in the greenhouse. There is a way that is really handy and a little hack for you if you want to speed up the process. At this time of year, when we're in late winter and early spring, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. It is handy, however, since we haven't had any rain for a month, which is kind of sad since it's January and February. But if you are worried that your carrots are going to dry out, or if it's a little warmer later in the spring or in the fall, this pre-sprouting method is definitely going to help you. So what you will need is, these are heavier duty paper plates that have a little rim on them, and I've used 2 of them just to be on the safe side. I've put some regular potting soil or seed starting mix in here. You don't want to use compost or garden soil, because you don't want anything besides your seeds growing in here. So just fill in. I used a big handful. There's probably about a ½ inch of potting soil in each one of these, and I have 3 because I have 3 different types of early seed. So for this one, this is an heirloom seed, and we're going to just sprinkle it solid on the surface of the soil. So I'll try to do this so that you can see. So there it is. I've got my seed in my hand, and I'm just going to sprinkle it on like that. You don't want it to be too heavy to where the end result is like a package of alfalfa sprouts from the store that you have to disentangle. So you want to see some air, some free space in between So kind of like that. Hopefully you can see. I don't want to bend it so much that they all fall out. Like that. And then I have a little bit of potting soil here, and I'm just gonna barely sprinkle a little bit over. You probably don't have to do this, but I'm just going to. And then I have some Ziploc bags, which I have pre-marked with what variety they are. And I'm going to put this plate with the seeds inside the bag, just like that. The soil's been pre-watered. It's not wet, but it is damp. So when you close this like this, you don't have to worry about watering it. So let's do one more. I have a scarlet nant here, so I'm going to do this one here. Here's my plate. I think that's just the right amount of seed. Let's kind of just sprinkle that over like that. Well, maybe it's a little more, but I don't want a package with like 5 seeds in it, so I'll just use them all. Okay, and then a little bit of soil, just like that. Boom. And then I've got my last Ziploc bag here with the name pre-written on it. There we go. Okay, now, so I've got these 3 here. And I'm gonna, now when I first learned how to do this, I was advised to take these and put them in the freezer for 3 days. And I did that, and it works. And you know what, if you were doing this in the summer, if the weather was a little on the too hot side for what carrots really like, I would say, yeah, why don't you do that? Put them in the freezer for 3 days. Just put it on your calendar, on your phone or something, so you don't forget them in there. I don't think it'll hurt them if they're in there longer than 3 days, but you know, 3 days. What that does is it breaks the dormancy of the seed, and so they'll be ready to go in that warmer weather you're going to put them out in. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let them be as they are and see what happens if the results are the same. So put these somewhere where they're going to be warm. You can put them on top of your refrigerator. I'm actually going to put them on my floor because I have in-floor heating in my home. And in a few days, they should be sprouted. So we will see you then. Oh, and I wanted to talk about one more thing too. The type of carrot seed you use. The reason that I'm doing only 3 is because these 3 are early. This one says hybrid early carrots. It's called Angelika from Johnny's. This is a scarlet nant, which I believe is an early one also. And this one, this Karuta long, I want to say is too. I'm not sure. If they say main crop or storage at this time of year, don't use them because they're meant for, they're not those really sweet carrots that you want at this time of year. They're more of those bigger ones that you will keep in your basement or whatever to eat all winter. So we want the sweeties now. Okay, so we are back. It is 9 days later, and here are our paper plates with our sprouted seeds. Now I will tell you that you can learn from my mistakes. It's been 9 days, like I say, and in my opinion these are a little too big. I think they'll be fine once we plant them out, but you want them to be about, the sprouts to be about, let's say about a ½ inch long. These are, some of them are more than an inch, so that's a little too long. It's pretty warm in my house. I had placed them on my in-floor heating, so it was a nice warm spot, and I didn't put them in the freezer as some had recommended, so you don't need to do that. And yeah, they just sprouted like crazy. Now if these were outside, you might barely be seeing any, probably not any, honestly, because you're usually looking at about 3 weeks for carrots. So that's the one. Here are the other 2. You'll see that they are more yellowed because they are stacked on top of one another inside the house, or they were. So that's what I forgot to mention, is you don't want to put them in the light because they're germinating, they're not growing. So this one was just a little bit more green because it was on top, but that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our tray here, and I have a prepared bed with our nice soft carrot soil. Got a drink of water last night. It's ready to go. It's got the furrows in it. They're about 6 inches apart. It's actually the same way that I would plant the seed, in this kind of a prepared bed. So now I'm going to see if I can do this with one hand. So I'm going to take my little seedlings here. See how this goes. See how they are. And we're just going to barely sprinkle them into the row, like that. It's a little heavy right here, so we'll take some away. We'll put them over here, kind of spread it out so it's even. Let's grab a few more. That. And of course, if these were a little shorter, it would have been a little easier. And of course, this is easier with two hands. And what I would do with two hands is just separate them a little, you know. So, but this will suffice for demonstration purposes. Just like that. Okay. So then, we'll just take a little bit of soil, just like I would with the seed, and just barely sprinkle it over like that. You don't want to like cover them, because then they have to go to the effort of finding the light again. So you're just wanting to cover them enough so that they don't dry out, because if you let them dry out, it's over. Okay, just like that. Now, I'm going to repeat that for every row that's here. You get the idea. Let's look at these ones over here, which were planted by seed, actually 3 weeks before the ones that we did the sprouting method with. There they are. Again, you get a jump on the season by doing the sprouting method, and it will be interesting to see how these compare to the ones that were planted from seed over here. And the next step will be, after I put all of these out, I'm going to get more of this material, and I'm going to cover these as well so that they don't dry out. And they can actually be under this for quite some time. You'd be surprised. They can be 4 or 6 inches tall and be pushing up on that fabric, and they'll be just fine. I did want to mention a couple of things that I thought of after I filmed the last episode. Is some people like to put their carrot seeds under a board so that they don't dry out. You can try that. It might work in the summer when things are hot. The second method that I've heard of is using a gunny sack, and I really don't recommend that, because if you are not paying attention, the seedlings will grow right through the loose weave of the gunny sack, and then when you go to take the sack off later, you're just going to rip the tops off of your little plants, so I really wouldn't recommend that. What I do recommend the most is this remake cloth that I was talking about. If you look it up, REEMAY cloth, it comes in different weights. It keeps frost off a little bit, but it has lots of other uses, and I highly recommend this. This stuff is reused. As you can see, there's a hole over there, and it's worth the money, in my opinion, if you're a serious gardener. So that's what I got for carrots, and we'll check in on these in a few weeks, and we'll see what's going on. We'll do a little comparison between the two, and we'll see if we saved any time at all. All right, well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.